Hey everybody, welcome back to There's Nothing New Under the Sun by Amy Campbell. That's me. And I wanted to talk today about Gabby Petito. Now, I don't claim to know everything about the case. I've just been watching it mostly on the YouTube reporting and on the news and things like that. And I'm not 100% going to talk about what happened with Gabby, though it was a horrible tragedy and I'm very sad for her and her whole family. But I want to talk about things that we can learn from what happened with Gabby. So anyway, if you're new here, thank you so much for joining. And please, if you like what you see, hit subscribe at the end of this video. It's down below. And hit the little bell so you can get alerts to know when my videos come out. Also, if you can, at the end, if you can like the video, I'll remind you at the end again, but that really helps me out a lot. So anyway, so let's get back to talking about the whole Gabby Petito case and what we can learn as women in our 20s, in our 30s, in our 40s, and even beyond. I mean, I'm in my 50s and I'm still learning things about just being a woman out there in the world today. You know, it's kind of scary a little bit. And so the first thing I want to talk about is, ladies, please talk to your mom. Talk to her. Tell her what's going on in your life, okay? Let her know what your location is at all times, not just every once in a while when you feel like you're doing something you're proud of, but all the time. Your mom or your dad, whoever you're, close enough to that loves you, that wants to make sure you're safe. Now, from what I've heard, I mean, Gabby Petito was a great girl. She had a huge life ahead of her. She was starting YouTube also, and she had a few followers, and the whole rest of I don't know if you know anything about the YouTube community, but there were just so many people that were following her, and then other people in the YouTube community who create things like what I'm doing today. They picked up on this when they heard one of their fellow creators was missing. And I think that's why it's been a lot more popular than other missing people cases, because she had followers, and then she was in the YouTube community, and then they all have followers, and so and everyone in YouTube is creating videos about it. From the time she came up missing, and then when her remains were found, and then looking for the guy that might have done it and all that, and then now his remains were found, and conspiracy theories and all that. And so I wanted to do something a little bit different today and learn, like, from what happened to her, from the tragedy that happened to her, what we can learn. And what I have heard several times is that her family, they didn't know where she was. Like, she's an adult. She's 22 years old. Why would you want to do that? Once you get to be an adult, you're free to do whatever you want. And I'm 100% on board with that. You're free to do whatever you want. But in the world today, when you've got slime balls like this out there, somebody needs to know where you're at all times. Going to a big city, or going out into the wilderness, or in the desert, or just to another town. I mean, it's just good that somebody can locate you. And, and if you're on their location, their GPS, and all of a sudden they can't find you, they can call you, and you answer your phone. Answer your phone for your mama. So, but you will appreciate that if you ever get into a sticky situation like I'm sure Gabby found herself in, where, her parents they couldn't see where she was at. They couldn't get a hold of her. And then they had to go looking for her, you know? And of course, I mean, I think especially when you're young, when I was young, I thought I was invincible and, that'll never happen to me. My dad will never die, you know, he'll be here forever. And daggone, if in my 20s he didn't pass away, you know, from lung cancer. So I know that, you know, most people, especially in their 20s, they think nothing's going to happen to them. But nowadays, I mean, and again, we're talking on this channel that's nothing new under the sun, because these things have happened before. It's just, I guess we know more about it now because it's on the internet, but people have been getting kidnapped and sold into sex trafficking and murdered, and I mean, just all kinds of stuff for years and years and years. This has been happening. Well, since the beginning of time. I mean, come on. Cain killed Abel, right? So, it happens, and we just need to take, as smart women, we need to take every precaution that we can. And the first thing is by someone you are related to, who loves you, who will be there to take care of you if needed. Let them know where you're at. Let them know your location. Put them on the GPS. You know, we all have those apps these days, so I'm not even buying it that you don't have the app, but let them know that. I have got to say that I am a big YouTube viewer too, and I love to watch Eleanor Neal, Jessica Kent, and Christina Randall. So look up any of those. They have really great content, but a lot of what they talk about is true crime and things that are going on out in the world today, like real life things. Jessica Kent talks more about, you know, the drug world, and she's a past addict and she served some time in prison. Christina Randall, she served some time in prison for fighting, and, you know, she was with some pretty ruthless people in prison. They both were. And so they tell stories about that. So I recommend 100% any three of those ladies. Again, that's Eleanor Neal, that's Christina Randall, and Jessica Kent. Very interesting. But they can tell you these things are still happening. People are still, you know, getting abducted. People are being sold into sex trafficking, and people are being killed all the time. They wouldn't have any content if they weren't going over those things. So please, please don't just think it's never going to happen to me, so whatever. Please take the precautions so that if, heaven forbid, something would happen, somebody would know where you were at. Okay, somebody would know before 24 hours that something was wrong because they couldn't get a hold of you. Okay, so try to make that deal with that person, you know, to not be, I know you guys think that we're trying to be a helicopter mom. I'm really not trying to do that. I want to know where my girls are. My oldest one, she's over 30. She doesn't necessarily want me to. And my younger daughter, she does let me. She's in her 20s, but you know, she doesn't like for me to be watching her all the time, and I'm totally not. But late at night or in a big city, or, you know, out with people partying or whatever, I just feel like somebody needs to know. And a lot of these cases, these girls would have ended up better off if somebody would have been, you know, knowing where they were and been in touch with them. So that's just my advice from a mom who knows, and from a girl who knows how tragic this was with Gabby, you know. I mean, they didn't know until several days later that she was actually missing. Okay. My second point, which I've got notes because I want to make sure I cover stuff. Whoops, sorry. But, so the other thing that I wanted to talk about is, what is it that you want to hide from your parents? Like, what is it? What could be so bad that you don't want your parents to know? Where are you going that's so bad you don't want your parents to know? Or is it just an independence thing? I know you want to feel independent, but is that worth your life? So, but what is going on that's like, and again, bringing it back to Gabby, is her family didn't know there was anything wrong. Like, they didn't know that they were fighting very much. I'm sure they probably knew that they argued a little bit. Everybody does, but they didn't know that things were bad. But then you listen to this girlfriend of Gabby's, and she said that they were fighting all the time. He didn't want her to go off and do things with her friends or, away from him. And it sounds like it was getting pretty controlling. So, I know I'm a mom, and maybe you don't want to hear this, but tell your mom. Tell her what's going on. She's been there, done that. Believe me, I've been there, done that. And if you can't talk to your mom, shoot me a message. Shoot me a private message, and I'll try to give you some guidance on what to do. But you need to talk about this stuff, Why? Why are you putting up with stuff that's that bad that your own parents can't even know what's going on? Like, they love you. So, of course, it probably isn't a good environment for you if you're needing to hide it. I've always tried to live my life like an open book. And, if you live an open book, then who cares? Who knows what you're doing? Now, I must say, there have been some times when I maybe drank a little bit too much, and I was embarrassed to go around my parents. Like, I didn't want them to see me like that. Who knows what I would have done, But they knew where I was. And this is like since I've been an adult. But don't put yourself in a situation that you are ashamed to share with the people you love. And so that gets me to the next thing, which is, if you're in a bad relationship with somebody that's toxic, who's mentally abusing you, physically abusing you, verbally abusing you, and believe me, I know it's hard to get out of. I had a relationship that was what I would call toxic, for sure. I don't want to say abusive necessarily, but toxic. And when I say toxic, I mean, like, he cheated on me all the time, and I kept staying with him. And I think it's because growing up, we weren't like a lovey-dovey family. Like, we didn't hug, we didn't kiss, we didn't say I love you. We just knew our parents loved us because they took care of us, and they talked to us. They spent time with us, there were lots of evenings where we were just like having conversations, playing games, that kind of stuff. And it was just, we knew that they loved us. But that caused me to feel like I needed to get love from somewhere else. And so the first guy that really told me he loved me, and then of course he was also my first, if you know what I mean. And I thought, okay, this is it. I'm staying with him no matter what because he loves me. We've done that, which when you have sex with somebody, you, as a woman especially, we get connected to them emotionally. And, guys, I don't know if anybody's ever told you this before, but guys, they can like be with different people every night, basically. Not all guys, I'm just saying. They want to have sex as much as they can. So they'll do whatever. But with us women, it's a little bit different, and we have sex with somebody and we're tied to him. And, you know, I think that's the way God intended it, was when you have sex with somebody, you come together as one person, as one flesh. That's what it talks about in the Bible. So I think our soul, like inside us somewhere, we feel that, you know, we feel connected to them, and we don't want to let go of that. It's not as easy to let go of. And I know there are men like that too. I'm just talking to us women right now, okay? So, you know, once we get into that, or once I got into that with this guy, I was dead set that that was who I was going to be with forever. That's who I was going to marry. You know, I was connected to him. Then several years later, I end up having a baby with him. So then I'm even more connected with him. And, you know, I look back now, and at that time, that felt like, I thought that was love, because he said it. He said it to me all the time, and he hugged me and he kissed me and everything else. So, you know, I liked that, and that's what I wanted. And so he cheated on me more times than I can count, and lied to me, and I don't know, but on the other hand, he would always still say that he loved me and tell me how beautiful I was and all that stuff. So there were good times. There were lots of good times too. So I took it for a long time, and it was very hard to break away from that. So I get it. I get it that it's hard to break away from it. But why? I'm so much happier since I did break away from it. And it seems like a lot of people do feel that way once they break away from somebody who's toxic. So, you know, just don't settle for someone because it's a guy and you need a guy, you know. Gabby went back and forth with this Brian Laundrie. They broke up like in high school and stuff, and then got back together, broke up, got back together. I mean, from what I hear, that happened several times, and that was the same way with me. I just so much wish for her that she would have let go of him, you know, maybe not thought that that was the person, like that was the best she could get if he was treating her that way, you know, and arguing with her all the time and saying mean things to her. I mean, it's not good if somebody's saying mean things to you or derogatory things, you know, calling you names or anything. That's just not good. Let alone if they smack you or push you or hit you in any way. So, you know, and I'm not buying it that it's a joke or they're just playing around or whatever. It's not a good situation. And so I'm so happy. It took me a good, I'd say 10 years to get out of that relationship. So I understand that it was hard, and I'm sorry that it ended up the way it did for Gabby, but that's why I want you guys to learn from Gabby. Learn from Gabby's tragedy, you know, so this kind of thing doesn't happen again. And please, you know, I know you think that it'd be your mom being nibby, but talk to your mom, talk to your aunt, somebody, your older sister, somebody. Make sure they know where you're at. They know how to get a hold of you, and make sure you answer their calls when you're out doing something like that. It only takes a minute, and you can tell them, yeah, I'm fine, bye, you know, but at least they know, you know, they make a connection and they know you're okay. So, but also please take a look at your relationships, and if they're not good, if they're not positive, if you're not growing, if they're not looking, you know, making you better, helping you, you help them, they help you. If they're not your partner, why waste time? Don't waste your time. Don't do it. It's not worth it. and you'll be so much happier later. Believe me, I'm so much happier now. But I've been through it. I've been through it a lot, and it was hard and yucky and painful, and I'm so glad I'm out of it. So that's what I want for you too. I want you to be happy. I want you to have a good partner, and I'm sure Gabby would say the same thing. She, it's horrible that she lost her life, and so let's respect her life and try to learn from what happened to her. I think that's the best way. Since we don't know her, I think that's a very honorable way to honor her memory, is by learning from what happened to her. So that's all I have to say on this particular subject. So if you have any questions, please write those down, and I will get to them in the next video. Okay, thanks. Oh, and make sure and hit like down there. That really helps me out. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.